Hey, Travis, why don't you just give us a little overview of what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, today's video, we're going to touch on marketing and maybe what you might expect your agent to do in the form of marketing. We're going to talk about showings and we're going to talk about feedback in today's video.
Okay, great. So, marketing is just a big, broad thing, and I know you're an expert at it. Tell me, where do we go with that? What are some of the first things that we need to think about when we're thinking about marketing our home for sale?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, most sellers will expect their realtors to do a couple of pretty basic things, Peter. They're going to obviously put a sign in the yard. They're going to go ahead and put the home in the multiple listing service. And then we always like to say that they're going to pray that the home sells. Most realtors, of course, will schedule an open house within the first couple of weeks as well. So that's going to sort of be your like standard plan that you might expect all agents to do.
You mentioned open house. It's one of the hottest topics that I can think of. My agent doesn't do open houses at my house. How important are they?
Yeah, only about 3% of homes are held open in the nation. And so 97% of all homes are not held open. So that's one thing I would want most sellers to understand. I do think it's important to do an open house. On our team, we always schedule it on the third weekend if possible. Now, most agents will schedule it on the first weekend. I think that's a huge mistake. If I'm holding your home open on the first weekend, I'm getting a large number of people through the home and I just can't keep track of them. I can't keep track of the people who have realtors, who are, just looky-loos, who are the neighbors. And so we like to, on our team, have your home available for sale at first weekend. And we want private showings scheduled from realtors. These are pre-approved buyers that have probably ruled out a good number of homes up to this point, and maybe your home's the one. So we want them to be private showings with a realtor. We do that for a couple of weekends on our team. If we haven't found a buyer, we then hold it open. And if you do it on the third weekend like we do, it's vitally important because now all of the neighbors are at least aware that your home's for sale. They've probably seen it online. You're going to get a lot less of those like looky-loos that you might get from a neighbor. All of the people who are pre-qualified, pre-approved, have a realtor, they've already seen it online, they've scheduled a showing, etc. So now we're trying to get the people who are literally just waiting for the open house. Maybe they don't have a realtor, maybe they're just starting their search, etc. So I think open houses are important, but they have to be done with the right strategy.
So, if you had to name the top one or two most important marketing strategies, what are they?
Yeah, first and foremost would be really good high professional photos and video. And that will be your best marketing tool that you can have. We always tell our clients that the first showing actually begins online. So you want your home to look as good as it possibly can once it hits the market. And so nice, high quality professional photos. They do multiple exposure so you can like see outside the home while you're viewing a picture inside the home and things like that are way beyond my expertise as a realtor. And so really good high quality photos and video, I think would be number one. And then when we're describing the home, Peter, something that we do a little bit different, there's really good research on how the human brain intakes marketing material. And if you're selling somebody with a lot of adjectives like beautiful, shiny, large, etc., all of those words, we sort of ignore the rest of the marketing because we feel like we're being sold to. So we like to, in our descriptions, to be very noun heavy. So we talk about square footage and size and, bedrooms and what specifically are we talking about? It's granite countertops. It's not large, beautiful granite countertops. It's just granite countertops. And so I think that's more important than people think to try to manipulate's the wrong word, but try to help influence the consumer so they're not shunned away from your listing.
Yeah, I know I'm not a big fan of. Imagine yourself in a sunny, windy brook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think, well, people are busy. They're looking at many homes online. If they see some facts, that's going to be critical in that description. I've also seen just no description or very minimal descriptions, but I think that's a mistake too.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It's similar to having fewer photos or something like that. If you don't have a description, people's psyche says, what are you hiding? Same thing if you don't have a picture of your bathroom or something like that. People just instinctively go to, it probably needs a new bathroom or a remodeled bathroom. So you really have to take a photo of one photo of at least every single interior room, including the storage spaces, and then of course getting good photos outside.
I've seen some of those, I can't remember what they're called, but where you physically walk through the video or the house. I don't know about you, but those make me nervous. I don't really play with them, but is that an effective marketing tool?
Yeah. Do you mean the tool where you can see the little circle in the middle of a room and you click it and then the
Yeah.
camera fast forwards to that room and then you can kind of, yeah, those are a little odd, right? I mean, we've used it in the past. I actually had a tool one time where I could do a 360 video and we could do that. What I found is that it just didn't give me the full perspective. So I like to do an actual video walkthrough and where we can actually just go room by room and I can walk you through the home. And there's two ways to do that. One would be obviously with like my face and my marketing and things like that, maybe putting it on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. But I prefer doing it where I'm not in the video at all and we're just doing a really nice walkthrough of the home. And now I can put that on the multiple listing service. And then subsequently that goes to at least 350 websites currently in our market, the way that we communicate the MLS to our national branded websites.
All right. So besides internet marketing, what other types of marketing should we pay attention to?
So, Peter, here's some things that you might expect your realtors in today's market, right? We're getting really good quality photos, really good quality video. Sometimes we're doing aerial photos that helps give perspective on the yard. Sometimes we're doing some print advertising. Maybe we're mailing postcards and things like that. We like to communicate all of our listings with our database. Now we've got over 2,000 emails, 2,000 people I've communicated with over 20 years that have not all of them have bought and sold with me, but they've at least communicated and have an understanding that I'm a realtor. So we like to send emails to those people. And then we've got our realtor network as well. So we're networking within our company. We're also networking within other companies. You know, Peter, only about 5% of realtors sell 80% of all of the transactions. So we've got a system in place where we communicate with the top agents in our market as well. So those are some of the things that are probably the most common. And then, of course, on a case by case basis, we actually build out a personal marketing plan for all of our clients.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if I'm accurate or not, but my belief, I used to be a realtor, by the way, but
Yeah.
my belief about the biggest marketing or the best marketing for my home is the realtor network. It's what you folks do day in and day out. And you remember that, this other agent was looking at a different home and it wasn't quite right. And now you contact them and say, hey, I've got a great new listing. But one way or another, that kind of connections with everybody in the network, I think, is really a huge value to the realtor network.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, the internet and how far the internet has come with real estate, it's so different today than it was when I first started. I mean, I actually did have an MLS book the first year that I started in real estate, and we had just transitioned to an online MLS in that year. And so I've been a part of the internet version of real estate most of my career with the exception of maybe a couple of months. And so that's changed. But today it's really interesting, Peter, because once I list a home for sale, if you have a realtor and they have a search set up for you in our system, you're going to get an automatic email with that information. So again, that's why we really want really good photos, really good
Mm.
video, really good description, because the buyers who are most interested in buying homes are actively working with an agent and they're getting that information immediately.
Okay, so now we have the home marketed, and all of a sudden we've got showings. Tell me, how does that work?
Yeah, showings are the worst part about selling a home, right? We've got children and dogs and cats and birds and whatever else, and we're trying to get the home clean and keep it clean. And so, what you can expect in the first couple of weeks is you should have probably more than one showing a day, at least for the first week, and then it maybe trickles down a little bit after that. So, you're going to want to be fully prepared, home clean, eating out for dinner, and things like that for at least a couple of days, especially the first weekend. And then it may trickle down to maybe 1 or 2 showings, and then eventually maybe a couple showings a week. And so I always like to advise my clients to have their laundry just, in their basket and not overflowing, and just be ready to put in the washer and dryer. So that's completely out of the way. Have the dishes in the dishwasher, completely ready to go. And then all of your like toiletries and things like that, put inside of like a little carry bag or something like that, or a little bin, so that when you're done doing your toiletries in the morning, you just put that right in the cabinet. And so it's show ready when you go to work or drop the kids off at daycare or what have you. But showing real estate is absolutely the worst part. One thing that I want to make sure people are aware of is that you can record people that are in your home, but there are laws against how that recording can be used. And there's laws against listening to what they're saying when they're inside your home. So we always advise our clients not to record when people are inside of their home. But if you do, we make the buyers aware of that. And then also we try to refer you to whatever the laws are with recording people in your home.
Yeah, I know as a seller, there have been times when my agent will call me and say, "Hey, I've got this buyer. They're out in your neighborhood and they just saw your sign and now they want to come see your house." And of course, I'm offended because why wouldn't they give me time? And now the question is, do you want the opportunity to show your house or not? Right?
Yeah, I agree. We need to show it every time a buyer is interested in looking at it. And so in those rare instances that we absolutely can't show a home because of an illness or something like that, totally understand. In all other instances, it's like, look, I know it's a pain in the butt. This is the worst part, but let's get past this part. Let's find that buyer. We're going to see in any market I've ever been in, you're going to see somewhere between 8 and 12 showings for every one offer that we bring in. And so in a hot market, you might have 30 showings or 40 showings, but that's going to generate 3 or 4 offers, sometimes more. We want as many offers as we possibly can to maximize the value and the terms of the purchase agreement. But also, if we're not getting yet to that 8 or 10, like that next showing could be like the buyer that's going to buy your house. So clean it up really quickly, grab your food to go, grab your little ones and hop in the car or go for a walk or something like that. If you give someone 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get your home prepared, everybody understands that. But it does happen, and I encourage my clients to approve every showing we can.
I've got strangers walking through my home. What should I do to prepare for it? I mean, did they look in my drawers? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, sometimes they do. I mean, as a realtor, I'm usually with my clients when they're walking through a home on the buy side, and we're telling them, stay away from the jewelry drawers and things like that. But they will open the refrigerator and the cupboards in your kitchen every time, especially if they like the home. So we like to say, let's put our knives away. I always have my clients put our knives, like the little butcher block knives. Let's put those out of reach. Let's put them in the back of a cupboard or something like that. And then any jewelry, anything that's important like that, pack it up and put it somewhere that isn't easily accessible, not inside like an easy drawer that pulls open or something like that. And then obviously anything like a firearm should be locked up and things like that.
Buyers go through my home. How do I have any idea, what did they think about the house? Can we talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, we call that feedback, of course. And this is my least favorite part about selling a home. Anytime I've sold a home, I'm on pins and needles, Peter. Like, what did they think? What did they think? And I lose sight of even my own knowledge here, because the reality is it doesn't matter what they say about your home. It matters what they're doing. So if and when a client is interested, their realtor is going to be calling me, your realtor. I'll get a text or a call, and it's almost immediate. It's while they're in the home or while the realtor is heading to their next showing. And they're going to give me the feedback over the phone in the form of, what is your client looking for a closing date? What other terms are important to them in the purchase agreement, things like that. So when someone's interested, they're going to be calling me. And then, of course, I'll subsequently call my clients. The feedback that they provide is actually irrelevant to me. Feedback for me is in the form of activity. Number one, we need to get showings. If we're not getting showings, that is feedback. That's negative feedback. Something's wrong with the listing. It's usually the price, especially with our experience now. We have really good photos and video and all the stuff we've already talked about. So our plan generates activity. So there's something wrong with it if we're not getting showings. If we are getting showings and we get to that 8 to 12 number and we don't have any offers, that's also negative feedback. Again, it's usually the price. Buyers are going to pay relative to what they could pay for another property. So if they're not feeling it, right? They're not feeling the value when you're in your home, it means it's overpriced. And so those two things are our biggest forms of feedback. I'll actually share a story with you real quick, Peter. I had a listing. I forget the city. It was like Chaska or Chanhassen, one of those two. Really nice single level townhome with a finished basement. And my client, when they built the home, instead of having that third bedroom in the basement, they just left it completely wide open. Okay. Really neat. They had a big pool table, ping pong table. It was like this awesome entertainment space. I had a realtor from my office provide written feedback. So my client saw the feedback. And it said, if there were a third bedroom in the basement, my client would buy the home. So my client and I had a conversation and they were like, we'll hire a contractor to put the wall back up. Here's the original design. They'll put the wall up. They'll put the closet in, etc. Tell them to write an offer contingent on that happening. I called the realtor again. This person's in my office. And she was like, oh yeah, no, Travis, that's just something I said. They don't like the house.
Isn't that true? Yeah.
That's literally a true story. It's a horrible, when they feedback, Peter, I don't even know what to say.
I have a story too. I've had some pretty funny feedback, and on one house, they said, your house kind of reminded me of something I'd see in Miami Vice. Oh, you're just really not being helpful to me, but you didn't like the house. I like that feedback. I don't like it. That's okay.
Thanks.
But,
yeah, we actually
kind of a slam there.
About 50% of realtors will fill out a feedback form. Again, that's why I'm looking for the activity, showings, and offers. About 50% will actually fill out a feedback form. Most realtors will have these like 5 standard questions that show up in every program that we use. I edit them. I just ask 2 questions. Is your client writing an offer, yes or no? And then my second question is why or why not? Now, we get 50% of the time people are filling out the feedback. So about half the time we're getting, no, we're not writing an offer and here's why. And that's a really nice thing for my clients. But again, at the end of the day, it's all relative to what the value of real estate is in your neighborhood. Homes are going to sell. It's either going to be your home sells or your neighbor's home is going to sell or the one down the street. And the buyer that's looking at your home is looking at those homes as well. 1 out of 8 people or 1 out of 12 people in that range, they're going to buy one of those houses. And so we just have to figure out where do we need to be priced within the marketing that we're doing and sort of ignore the verbal feedback that people are giving us.
Well, Travis, thank you very much for going through this with us about how to market a home and how to deal with showings and how to deal with feedback that we get. All of that stuff just is a mystery to me and the rest of the world. So really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us today. And hey, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Our contact information is in the description below. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks and have a great day.